Yeah, we met, we worked, I was a journalist, I used to be a journalist, and at Nightline, we worked together at ABC News, and Ron he used to be editor of the Wall Street Journal, and he was a correspondent, and I was a producer. And I made a piece about Cornelia and her parents and how they met for a special we did for PBS. And I got to know the family, and then I sort of stayed friends with them, and even edited Owen's bar mitzvah video. So I'm sort of, yeah, which is amazing, by the way. His speech at his bar mitzvah was pretty incredible. We were almost we were going to
for a while.
Were we going to use it?
Oh, it was in the cut for like a month or two. I think we tried it out, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
DVD extra.
Yeah, absolutely. And so having that relationship.
So having a relationship, when he was writing the book, he called me and said, I'm writing this book about my son. Ron writes big political books. He's won the Pulitzer Prize. He's written 4, I think, New York Times bestsellers, and he writes about, big issues around politics, terrorism, and the financial crisis. And this is his first personal book. So he told me he's writing it, and he said, I think it'll make a great film. So before he even finished writing the book, I started shooting.
And obviously, knowing Owen and being able to, and having him have trust with you, did it, I imagine it smoothed out sort of the filming process, but was there anything that was really like off limits for you? Like how did you sort of set the boundaries for how to engage with Owen with filming?
Hey, nothing was off, I didn't know Owen very well, and I knew Ron and I knew Cornelia, and Cornelia is a very private person, and Ron's a very public person. Ron is always, he's like a talking head on television. He's always in media. He loves to talk. But Cornelia was so private that she often says at Q&As that I'm the only one she would allow to make the film because so it was really tough sort of drawing her out and getting her sort of, she cries a lot, you can see. But she cried a lot more than you saw in the film. She cried kind of every time we sat down. And through the breakup, she was always crying, like every day.
Right.
So I think that allowed the sort of intimacy. I think with Owen, he pretty much got used to us pretty quickly, and he sort of forgot the cameras were there. He's sort of an ideal subject because he lives in his head. He lives in the land of the lost sidekicks, and he didn't really think about the crew, and it was very important that I had one DP who was sort of embedded himself in the family, became part of the family, and gained their trust, and he was with them, Tom Bergman, and he was with them the whole year. He was going for a year.
And so a little bit, maybe we talk about sort of the writing of the film in terms of the editing, but in terms of finding the structure for the film, because even though it's sort of inspired by Ron's book, it's not technically Ron's book, right? It goes beyond sort of the scope of what the book is about. So talk a little bit about how you found the structure.
Yeah, when we started cutting the film, we had Ron's book and the backstory of what had happened to Owen,
right.
the loss of his voice and Jews are most moments and what had happened to him in school. So we knew those stories. There were a lot more, so part of it was picking out which ones we really wanted to put in the film. But there was this whole ongoing verite story that was happening in the present day. And as that went on and Roger was filming it, it became really apparent that this was also a really important part of the film. Long before the breakup happened, this was just like seeing him move out. And so as that developed, we started to have to figure out how are we going to insert this into this, into all this, the story of what had happened to him. And we tried a lot of different ways. I think a lot of it was looking at what was happening in the contemporary story and then how we could use a moment, sometimes even a look, but often a scene, to take us back thematically to an idea, like almost like the characters in the present day, something happens in the present that reminds them, that would take us back. So it wouldn't feel too disjointed, that would kind of help us go back.
Right. And I'd love to open up to some questions. I have more if you, but I saw a hand right at the back there, yeah.
I actually have 2 questions. My first is, what was your collaboration with Owen to make his film within the context of your film? And also, do you feel like you're now part of Owen's sort of extended support team as he moves forward in life? And I don't think you're as old as his parents, but I don't know. So you might be somewhere.
I'm much younger.
A lot of interesting potential timeline with him, or maybe not. I don't know. I'd love to hear both of those.
What was the first question?
Collaborating with Owen for the short.
Oh, well, Owen, so the last chapter in the book is the Land of the Lost Sidekicks. So, called Sidekicks. So Owen, actually, that's his story. He wrote that story. He created that story. He drew the villains. He drew the sidekicks. So we just brought it to life. So it was really, it's really Owen's autobiography. And the villains in that story correspond to like the sort of challenges he has in his life, like being bullied at school. There's a villain for that. So he's continuing to write this. It's it's a story that sort of continues, and the sidekicks are always with him as his advisors in life. So they're always talking to him, and he often goes to them for comfort and advice. Owen, we've been on the road, right?
Yeah. We've been on the road with Owen since Sundance. He's attended quite a few Q&As. The film is screened, I don't even, like dozens of festivals, and Owen's been to quite a few of them. And it's honestly been really beautiful to see, because he was very anxious to, when we premiered at Sundance, to talk in front of a big group after seeing the film. And he is now a pro. Like, he comes down, he says, "Hello everyone, I'm Owen Suskind. You have a question, what's your question?" Like, he totally takes command of the stage now, and it's just so beautiful to see how he's evolved and grown in that way. And he's also the first to say at all the Q&As, "I'm still looking for a girlfriend, so anybody out there know anything, please send her my way." In the Boston area, has to like Disney film, Disney merchandise. He has his checklist of what his girlfriend should be.
And we did the Nantucket Film Festival.
Yes.
Program. It was an amazing night, and it was
Steven Schwartz. So it was we were doing it was opening film. It was a packed house. Owen is on stage doing a Q&A, and the Nantucket folks, Basil and the group there, had a surprise where they brought Steven Schwartz, who is a Disney composer, to the stage, and Owen flipped. His big film was Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Owen just kind of was ecstatic. He was so excited to have Steven come on stage, and they sang songs together in front of the whole audience. It was with
he handled himself really well.
He handled himself really well.
He was like, "You know this one," and he started singing another song.
And like Steven had to keep up with Owen, because Owen's like, "Hit it, Steven," and he just start the next song. So it was really, it's so incredible to see how his life has just opened up even more since the film has been completed.
Yeah.
The first time we showed Owen the film was actually at our production office. It was kind of a big conversation. We had Ron and Owen come together to see the film, and we set up a very private space for them to see it together by themselves. But we also spoke to Walt and Cornelia, and they did not see the film until it premiered at Sundance. They waited, which was very kind of nerve-wracking for them, but they did it. So Owen went into this office, and he watched, he was watching the film, and we were all kind of like trying to put our ear up, because we're all very nervous, because if Owen doesn't like the film, he's going to tell you he doesn't like the film. So we were all kind of sweating it out, and then Owen came out of the office, and he was like, "I love it!" And we were like, "Oh my God, you!" It was just a huge, joyous moment. And he was just hugging everybody and high-fiving, and he said there wasn't like one thing that he had a comment on. He just loved the whole thing.
You did a superb job. I'm so proud.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have time for maybe one last question. I saw your hand first.
Yeah, I'm curious at what point in the process you reached out to Disney and what that ongoing...
The Disney question.
Yes, the Disney question.
throughout the-
Well, Ron's book was published under an arm of Disney. Life Animated was under an arm of Disney. But we reached out to them very early. They were aware of it from the book. So they kind of knew the general intention that we had with the story. And I mean, their main concerns were that we weren't going to disparage their characters or their brand or, you know, kind of anything like that. It was quite a process, you know. I remember the first meeting that you had to go to, you know, there was like the head of the legal department, the head of the marketing department, the head of the licensing department, you know, like all these different heads who didn't even know each other because it's such a huge organization that we're meeting each other for the first time. And, you know, we go in and pitch this whole kind of concept that we're doing. But we were really kind of fortunate that they were so supportive, and, you know, we had, you know, had to license all the clips and all the music, and that's quite a bit of work to do, but they were very kind of open to the whole process.